Welcome to today's deep dive. We are really glad you're joining us for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really special topic today.
It really is. If you've studied this area before, you're probably pretty familiar with the grit, the anxiety, and just the desperate pleas for help that show up in so many of David's earlier psalms.
Oh, definitely. The ones where he's literally hiding in caves, fearing for his life.
Right. But today, we are unpacking an ancient text of profound wisdom that marks a massive shift in that narrative. We are looking at Psalm 145.
Famously known as David's Psalm of Praise.
Exactly. And we're going to look at it as a modern framework for applying ancient principles. So our mission today is to briskly summarize this powerful poem and its modern applications in the first half of our deep dive.
Keep it under 9 minutes or so.
Yep, keep it moving. And then we use the rest of our time to explore a really vital question. How does this ancient wisdom actively strengthen our trust and our relationship with God today?
Which is such a needed conversation right now because unlike those earlier Psalms of distress you mentioned, Psalm 145 is just this incredible breath of fresh air.
It really is.
It's expansive, it's confident. It basically answers the crucial question of what kind of legacy our faith should leave behind.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where exactly are we starting with the text itself?
Well, we have to start with the anatomy of the praise itself, specifically the structural brilliance of the poem. It's not just a random collection of happy thoughts.
Right, it's highly intentional.
Highly intentional. In the original Hebrew, it is written as an acrostic. It moves sequentially through the Hebrew alphabet.
From Aleph to Tav.
Exactly, the A to Z of Hebrew.
And, in an ancient oral culture, an acrostic was obviously a really great mnemonic device.
Sure, it helped people memorize it.
But it's more than that, right?
Oh, much more. It isn't just a poetic trick. It symbolizes absolute completeness. It is praise from beginning to end. It essentially claims that praising God encompasses the entirety of human language.
The full spectrum of the human experience.
Right. There is no letter, no concept, no season of life that gets excluded from this.
Which perfectly sets up the way the text defines God's dual nature. I'm going to look at verse 3. It says, "Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable."
Unsearchable. That's a huge word there.
It is. It points to a magnitude that human cognition we can't map it. You hit a wall of incomprehensibility.
The power is absolute.
But then you contrast that with verse 8. "The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy."
What's fascinating here is how unique that pairing is. Because power alone, especially in the ancient Near East, it just intimidates.
Right. Ancient kings ruled through fear. If a deity was unsearchably great, you just kept your head down so you didn't get crushed.
Exactly. And on the flip side, goodness alone can sometimes be perceived as weak. But Psalm 145 uniquely presents a God who is both infinitely powerful and deeply, deeply compassionate.
It redefines what true strength looks like.
Yeah.
And we see that in how the text talks about provision and presence.
Yes, those are key elements.
It says, "Thou givest them their meat in due season." So God is the ultimate provider on a cosmic scale.
Sustaining the entire universe.
But then it immediately zooms in. "The Lord is nigh unto all them that call upon him." He's near. He is intimately present.
It's not a distant force, it's an attentive presence.
So how do we translate that ancient wisdom into modern life? Because that brings us to the application part of our summary.
Right, and the most practical framework here starts with consistency over intensity. David makes this vow to bless God's name every day.
Every single day.
Which is huge, because in modern life, consistency actually strengthens faith way more than random bursts of intensity.
We're so conditioned to wait for the big, spectacular dopamine hit.
The viral moment, the sudden promotion.
And then we're grateful.
Exactly. But David is building a deliberate daily culture of gratitude. It's not just reacting when things go well, it's setting a baseline.
And that personal baseline connects directly to the communal aspect, generational storytelling.
Yes.
The text says, "One generation shall praise thy works to another."
Because faith and wisdom aren't meant to be kept in isolation. They aren't meant to be siloed.
It applies so much to family and leadership today. What you celebrate publicly shapes future memory.
That's beautifully said. Legacy is shaped by repetition. If you only talk about your grievances and fears, that's what the next generation inherits.
And speaking of leadership, how does the idea of God being slow to anger apply to us? Because we often think of patience in leadership as well as passivity.
We do, but it's the opposite. Patience reflects incredible strength. Think about an ancient king who had absolute power. They could execute judgment instantly.
So choosing to wait was a massive flex of self-control.
Right. Blending strength with mercy creates stability. It earns trust. It challenges both the harsh, tyrannical authority we sometimes see and the weak permissiveness that just breeds chaos.
Balanced leadership.
Exactly.
Okay, that wraps up our brisk summary of the anatomy of this praise and the practical applications. We're doing great on time.
We are.
So let's shift gears. Let's slow down the pace a bit and invite you, the listener, into a much deeper, more reflective conversation for the rest of our time today.
I love this transition.
Here's where it gets really interesting. How does all of this actually strengthen our trust and our relationship with God? Let's talk about provision.
Okay, let's do it.
Verse 16 says, "Thou openest thine hand and satisfiest the desire of every living thing."
Yep.
In a modern world full of economic stress and anxiety, how does trusting that provision not just become complacency?
That's the tension, isn't it? If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about the delicate balance of dependence.
Right.
Human effort is still absolutely necessary. The psalm isn't telling us to sit on the couch and wait for a sandwich to fall from the sky.
Yeah, you still have to go to work.
You still work diligently, but realizing that ultimate provision is not self-generated, that removes the crushing weight of anxiety.
Because we live in a hyper-individualistic culture. We're told if we stop hustling for even a second, everything falls apart.
We think we have to generate the oxygen we breathe.
It's exhausting.
It is. But when you recognize that God opens his hand to satisfy desire, you realize you aren't playing God in your own life. You do the work, but you remain grateful.
Which deepens our reliance on him rather than ourselves.
Exactly. It shifts you from a posture of panic to a posture of trust.
But for that trust to be real, the relationship has to be authentic.
Yeah.
And there's a crucial condition in verse 18 that I want to highlight.
The untruth part.
Yes. It says God is near to all that call upon him, but then it adds, in truth.
Sincerity over perfection.
Yes. Because how often do we call upon him in something other than truth? We call upon him in performance.
Oh, all the time. We curate our image for social media, for our bosses, and tragically, we do it with God too.
We bring our PR representative to our prayer life.
That's exactly what it is. We project this sanitized version of our struggles because we think spiritual closeness requires us to be flawless.
But performance cannot replace sincerity.
Never. Bringing your true self, your actual fears, your messy doubts, your genuine failures, that is what actually opens the connection.
God doesn't require us to clean ourselves up before we approach him. He requires authenticity. He requires us to be honest.
Because you can't build a real relationship with a fake version of yourself.
Wow. That's profound. And it really forces a reevaluation of what success even looks like through the lens of this text.
It totally redefines it for deeper fulfillment. The modern world tells you success is rooted in status, accumulation, insulating yourself from hardship.
Wealth, influence, having the perfect curated life.
Right. But Psalm 145 synthesizes a completely different core message. Happiness and success aren't rooted in status. They are rooted in the specific alignment with God.
Alignment with a God who is unsearchably great, yet intimately attentive.
Yes, you could have all the status in the world and still be totally hollow. But alignment produces a stabilizing peace that achievement just cannot buy.
So what does this all mean? When we look at the big picture of Psalm 145, how does this fundamentally shift how we face our daily anxieties?
It shifts your posture. When you wake up and the demands of the day hit you, the bills, the conflicts, viewing God as unsearchably great means your problems aren't bigger than his capacity.
And viewing him as full of compassion means your problems aren't too small for him to care about.
Exactly. You exist at the intersection of infinite power and intimate love. So the enduring message here is really a calming synthesis. Praise consistently, lead with compassion, pass wisdom forward.
A life rooted in gratitude and sincerity.
Because that creates a legacy that outlives the moment.
It's so powerful. And before we close out this deep dive, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought, something for you to mull over today.
A really practical challenge.
Yeah, we talked about the ancient acrostic structure of Psalm 145, moving from A to Z in the Hebrew alphabet to symbolize complete praise. What if you tried to build your own acrostic of praise today?
It's a fantastic exercise. It forces that shift in perspective we were talking about.
Right. What if you took a few minutes and tried to find one specific thing to be grateful to God for, starting with A, then B, then C, all the way to Z?
A for the air in your lungs. B for a book that changed your life.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It seems simple, but by the time you get to the harder letters, it demands absolute sincerity. It forces your brain out of its anxious state and into deliberate gratitude.
It makes the unsearchable greatness of God incredibly intimate and personal.
It really does. We highly recommend you try it out. So as you take this ancient wisdom and carry it into your modern life, we want to leave you with one final question. How will you apply this information in your life?